All right, y'all. Y'all know how we do between the hours of 6 to 8. We bring you to the Northwest Austin Council. Just a couple West Side people talking West Side things. It's always something going on, and y'all need to be in the know. So, for today's show, we got a special guest pulling up, because it's that season, man. Everything is politics and everything should be politics because that's the way we get what we need for the community. You know what I mean? I like to say politics is just a relationship to get to the resources, right? And this whole thing that we do is about connection, it is about connecting, it's about the people first and foremost. So we do have Corey Dooley in the building, you know what I mean? My bad, G. G.
Hey, mixed emotion, right?
There we go. Got Corey Dooley in the building, man. Young man, candidate for the 29th Ward Alderman. So we're going to hear all about his story. What led him to this point right now where he want to represent the community. And we're going to talk a little bit about the things that he like to see from the community, man, so that we can be in a better position because that's what this whole thing is about. Beyond all of that, listen, I'm going to leave a little early today, maybe about 7:15, 7:30, but these gentlemen going to hold it down in my absence. So we already know how that's going to go. So I'm just telling y'all that a little earlier. With all of that out the way, I always like to start by going over to Steve and asking what you got going on.
Well, first and foremost, we're looking at this election season. This season is about to kick it in. We only got less than 30 days, 40 days for the midterms. Then we're going to jump right into our local elections, which Corey is part of, and hopefully he'll be on the ballots soon. We'll know. But other than that, nothing else going on. We rolling at 29, 25th district, 29th ward, 15th district. Hey, we're saying things are pretty decent.
It makes me think you bring up 29, 25, 15, I apologize, 15 and 25. Both of those community conversations are going on this week. So if you all have not had an opportunity to sit in the virtual sessions with the community conversations, these are with the Chicago police so that you can kind of help inform the strategic planning for the next year. It is imperative that you do so because that is the way that community voice is represented in terms of the actions that's being taken in the community as it relates to the police. So let me drop a couple dates on you. So if you're around the 11th district, you want to do October 18th from 6 to 8 at Garfield Park, the Golden Dome. So that's 100 North Central Park is where the 11th district's community conversation will take place. If you're in the 25th district, from 6 to 8, Wednesday, 2831 North Central is where you want to go. And for the 15th district, from 6 to 8 at By the Hands Club, which is 415 North Laramie. That's the 15th district. That's Thursday. So one more time, for all those that want to be involved in a strategic planning for this upcoming year to voice concerns about their community, the 11th district is 6 to 8 at 100 North Central Park on Tuesday, the 18th. Wednesday, the 19th, is the 25th district from 6 to 8. That's 2831 North Central. And Thursday, the 20th, the community conversation for the 15th district takes place from 6 to 8 at By the Hands Club, 415 North Laramie. All right. So with that, you got anything else you want to ask, Steve?
No, not right now.
All right. We're going to jump right in. Yes, Corey, go on and tell the people about yourself, brother.
Man, let's tell the people. Well, first off, I want to say that I am very, very, very excited to be here at the Northwest Austin Council. Appreciate you, gentlemen, for allowing a young person to have the space to express themselves. I feel like a lot of our youth, we express ourselves on different social media platforms, but it's different when you're on a community-based platform. So thank you, Steve. Thank you, DeAndre. For me, actually, today marks 9 years ago, in 2013. My family and I were impacted by a traumatic event. And this hits close home for me because it's my 9-year anniversary, and everybody has been through something, right? But for me, 9 years
I
ago,
love my little brother on my hat right now.
Yes,
my little
sir.
brother died about 8 years ago.
Okay, so
His
we talking
birthday
about
just
trauma.
passed October 12th.
So we're talking about trauma, right? Whether that's personal, whether that's generational, as us being African Americans. In my situation, me and my family, we were ambushed in my grandmother's garage. And we were ambushed by my then stepfather at the time. I remember him waving a gun at us, and that gun went off, and he shot. And I was shot 4 times. My mother was shot twice. All while my brother witnessed this from the back seat. And so, doctors, they gave me less than a 1% chance to survive. They said, I probably never walk again, and they were certain that I would never play football again. And so, since overcoming this obstacle, like I said 9 years ago, I have been rewarded multiple degrees, whether we're looking at undergraduate degrees, master's degrees, completed my first master's degree in social justice and human rights. Now I just started my second master's degree in architecture, and I'm going to school online at Arizona State University. I've served as a positive role model, published an autobiography, helped to develop a commercial corridor right on Chicago Avenue, as most people know, the Invest Southwest initiative with Soul City right here in Austin. And so, got married last month. And man, for me,
Congratulations.
Yes, sir. For me, I've just really been on a roll, and I've understood why God had me go through, what I went through. I was mad at the time. I ain't gonna lie. I didn't understand, but I do understand now that it's important that we have positive role models to help us, be, they say you can't be what you can't see. So it's my hope that young people will see something, older people as well, and say, hey, that's a young man on the right track. I want to get behind that. I support it.
The saying is there's only 2 times that you're born. The very first day that you come out the womb and the day that you find purpose. You know what I mean? And so because a lot of people wander through life purposeless, and that leads them to being idle, and that could be possibly some of the results that we see here today. You know what I mean? So to hear somebody that's been able to find purpose a lot earlier in life is encouraging, especially because, like you said, you are young. And when you say that, how young is young? Where you at?
For my young, I'm 24 years old.
Okay.
So
Yeah, yes, sir. Yeah, you're a young man. Yeah, that's a young man. Yep. That's a young
I like
man.
to think we all young gentlemen, just at different youngs in our life.
That's a Fendi though. Well, me personally, like I don't even consider old to like 70. You know what I'm saying? That or your mentality, your mindset dictate where you at, because I've grown up with some people that act like grandmas. You know what I mean? I'm like, bro, like you've been acting like that since I met you in 7th grade. Man, no, not an old soul. Just like I liken it to like I for instance, like with I say, you either grow or you become a dinosaur, right? Like dinosaurs couldn't adapt. Dinosaurs couldn't adapt to their circumstance, so they perished. Unless that too. So to me, when an individual can't adapt, mentally and be different, right? Doing and being 2 totally different things. That's when you become extinct. That's when you become a dinosaur. That's when you become old in my eyes, in my mind. But that's just me. So what led you to this place, right? You called me from a Texas number. First and foremost, how come the number's in Texas?
Yeah, I called from a Texas number because I grew up in Dallas, Texas, playing football.
Man, I just got back about 2 weeks ago, man, from Dallas. First time. Man, I like the food. Food was great. Nah, but I didn't even get a chance to stay. I'm actually in a fellowship. Okay. And it was a very quick turnaround because due to the pandemic, and this was being planned prior to, and so due to the pandemic, and now with inflation where it is, they couldn't give us the trip that they imagined. So it was really like a day and a half. I got down there, I went, and much of it was mingling because the fellowship itself is with individuals from Pittsburgh, Chicago, and Dallas.
Wow.
So we all 40. It was like 35 of us. There's 40 people in it, but 35 of us went there.
Okay.
We met at downtown Dallas. What's it called?
Yeah, downtown Dallas. Yeah.
What's the-
Dallas Fort Worth is like the Metroplex.
Yeah,
But downtown Dallas.
I'm trying to think of the name. What was it? It was doesn't matter. We was in downtown Dallas, but we did that for like a half a day. We went to a place where
Deep Ellum, maybe.
Deep Ellum.
Yeah.
Deep Ellum. Yep. And we went to a place where it was like a multi-purpose building. So it was an art show or an art gallery, a church, a coffee house, a performance art studio, and then like around the corner was like this big multiplex with a bunch of different offices and things for like children and stuff. So they were showing us how they bridge. The whole fellowship itself is about bridging. How do we bring people closer together instead of dividing them? So we went there. We went to Fort Oak Cliff. We met the brothers that now run that complex. They bought it from YMCA and repurposed it and do a lot of good things for the kids. Fun fact that they told us was that the Dallas Mavericks only have 2 authentic play courts in terms of not being NBA. How you call it? Like NBA ready, like NBA ready courts, and they have one of them. Wow. So we went on their floor. It was super dope. Super dope. And then we went to the Freedman Cemetery out there. Okay. And that's the place where 5,000 Black bodies are buried, unmarked graves. You know what I mean? So that was pretty cool learning about those things. But it was a very short turnaround. But I enjoyed it. And then I actually, where I had the food at, well, the food was good there, but Houston had really good food because I ended up flying over to Houston to stay at my sister's for a couple of days. And that's where I really enjoyed it. They had food, man, beautiful.
Did you go to the Turkey Hut?
You know what? She mentioned that, but she said that she spent 3-4 hours in the line for a turkey leg. What?
Yes, that's it.
No, we went to the Breakfast Club though.
Oh, okay.
Hey, that was fire. We stayed in that line like a club, man. Hour and a half in that line. Got up in there. Food came out in not even 15 minutes. Food was at the table in like 7 minutes. Quick turnaround. I'm like, well, man, look, if you're going to stand on line this long for some food, the best thing they could do is turn it around quick. And the food was good, though. It was good. Good experience overall. I liked it. But I apologize. Go ahead. So you started in Texas and then you made it over here.
Valuable. Everything that you added to the conversation was valuable. You sharing your experiences in my city, just like I'm sharing my experiences in your city. I say our city now.
Yeah.
And so for me, like I said, grew up playing football, and I never thought about Chicago unless I was listening to Chief Keef.
Yeah.
And so, at that point, being a young man, I had an image in my head of Chicago. And me being from Texas, I thought Chicago was a state because I never heard anybody say Illinois, and that's how I pronounced it before I understood that it was Illinois. So I thought Chicago was a state. And now that I'm here, I'm still kind of believing that Chicago
is real talk. Real talk.
Just because outside of Illinois, there's really nothing like Chicago.
Yeah.
I would say maybe even in the Midwest, there's nothing like Chicago.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so I remember the day I got a letter in the mail from a school, Concordia University, Chicago, right down there. Yeah, right over River Forest area. And I told my mom, I'm not going to Chicago. It's dangerous there. I listen to the music. I know what's going on. And she was like, boy, just take a visit. We're going to go wherever they're giving you money, though. And so I took my visit here in February. I believe it was February of 2016. Snow all on the ground. And coming from Texas.
Facts.
Ain't no snow on the ground. They shut the roads down.
They shut it down, get a little powder, man. Yes, sir.
It's like the city don't stop here. It could be polar vortex and something's still going on in the city. So that is how I got my way to Chicago, coming to school out here.
And that's where you majored in?
That's where I majored in political science. I got my undergraduate in political
science.
At
Concordia?
At Concordia, yeah.
Okay. They got a leadership thing going. I don't know if you joined those events. You're an alumni too, so I don't know if you do those, but they have, let me see. It is Concordia. Yeah, Concordia. Yep. Business Leaders Breakfast. You ever been to those?
I haven't.
Yeah, they got one going on this Friday from 7 to 9:30 a.m. They got an author, best-selling author, Clifton Talbert. He's gonna be there.
Can you send me that?
I could.
Where can I find that information?
I can send it to you.
Okay.
So I'm friends with I'm in a Rotary. I'm a Rotarian.
Okay.
And so one of my Rotarian buddy, met him a few years ago. He's actually like, was he the president or former president, something like that. He know everybody. He got all the connections to a lot of different people, and he serves I think the board of Concordia. Okay. But he's also a former he's an alumni, okay. And so he sends me these things. I met Sam Petroda at one of the business breakfasts. He's like one of the foremost leaders from India, okay. That really helped to revolutionize the technological advancements in India. And he wants to do a lot of work here. You know what I'm saying? I just didn't really have the opportunity to follow up as much as I would because of where I'm at right now and taking on so many different projects. But very good opportunity to meet some people to really connect with them in the right way. And they want to do things in terms of bridging that divide, mm-hmm. As it relates to like entrepreneurship and business too. Yeah. So I'll send it to you. My intention, I think I'll be able to go. So my intention was to go. Okay. And check my calendar. Yeah. My intention is to go. So if you can go, we slide.
I have to put that on the calendar, pencil that in.
Yeah.
Learning on time management, writing things down, being intentional.
Yeah. So. You must. You're gonna learn that through this process. For real. Because when it get going, it's gonna get real. It's gonna get real. Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Chicago politics, that's a different landscape.
Yeah, it is. I mean, and Steve and I are both former candidates. Him 2015, me 2019. Okay. I ran in 37th Ward against Emma Mitz. So I have a very, very fresh perspective of the process in general. And I did everything because I was an army of one for real. You know what I mean? Okay. And part of it was just because I was just so moved. Like 2016 was the year that really moved me into politics for the community because that's when Donald Trump won. And the thing was, like, to that point, I really thought you had to be a politician, right? Like go to school of political science or something to be a political leader or an elected. And when that man won, if this man finna affect the whole world, I know I can affect my community. I mean, because I was already building that way, you feel me? Like I've been a part of so many different things in terms of social justice advocacy and activism that I was just like, well, I got the cachet, I got the history behind me. Yeah, none of that matters though when you get in, man. That shit don't matter, man. It's a contest.
The first
it's a real contest.
He used Donald Trump as a bar, a measuring bar.
For real.
I don't know if that was a good thing or bad.
I mean, well, look. So even then, like I went to certain black elected officials, you know what I mean, and I was like, I'm trying to learn. Like, how do I do this? But people ain't give me no help. You know what I'm saying? So I did everything myself. I learned the process, which is fine. Like, I don't care about none of that. None of that means anything to me. One of the things that I learned about politics, ain't no crying in politics. No. Like you got to separate the friend piece. You know what I mean? Because people don't understand, like, and even to this day, like, people I hang out with a lot, you know what I mean? When I was approaching them about, I'm running for district council. You know what I mean? Like, I really wanted to run this time, but I got too much going on. And so, as I was approaching people for district council, they all right now, hold on there. What I'm saying, DeAndre, because now I can't, you know what I mean? Because they friends with the alderman, you know what I mean? And that's okay. So, and you got to separate that type of stuff because it's just what it is. I mean, it's the game, So yeah, but anyway, so but you already well prepared though. You got, you know what I'm saying? You've already I see, some little marketing material and pieces like that. So that's what's up. How's the signature collection process going?
It's going well. I actually had an event today.
Okay.
We were gathering at 5947 West Madison. Shout out to Goldie that operates the space. Let me and my team come in there. Had snacks for them and everything. But it was very neat being able to go door to door.
What's the establishment?
The establishment is 5947 West Madison.
So near Austin?
Yep, near Austin, right on Austin and Madison.
And what do you do?
It's really a community space. So he let me get the space for a couple of hours to, set up a table, have my volunteers come in if they needed some water, needed some snacks.
I'm not familiar with and the person's name is what?
His name is Goldie.
Gold.
Yeah, it just goes by Goldie.
Okay.
So, big shout out to him.
Great.
Man, I had so many people come out and support me. For the first thing, I knock on the people's door. They see me and they're like, oh, okay, what does he want?
Yeah.
Why is he wearing a suit? Right.
Man, like Jehovah's Witness.
And so for me, it was really powerful because, however you want it, I can give it to you. I can come into, I'm at the school, I come in my sweats and my swag, my Jordans. I can do that, but I can also put on a suit. And I can put a three-piece suit and a tie and, and be professional in that sense. And so just being able to adapt, knowing your audience.
Yeah.
And really just be able to, walk around.
Well, you're switching it up.
Yeah.
You're really switching it up because first and foremost, no one's really expecting a younger individual to come anywhere with a suit unless it's a major event. And then I got a philosophy that if you get 10 young people in suits walking down the street, everybody gonna look, everybody gonna wonder why, and everybody will want to engage because they're just not used to seeing it. I think at one point we were talking about doing something like that, just getting a bunch of men and young men together.
Still want to do it. We gonna plan it out.
We can do it.
We gonna plan it out.
We will do it.
Throw suits on and walk a mile.
Yeah.
In our community.
Yeah, we're gonna get all the black men. We're gonna get the black men that want to be a part of something like that. We're gonna dress. Cause I be seeing it on I mean, you're probably seeing it too, where they just got a bunch of black men, young to old, and they all in suits and they walk in. I think I seen it in Dallas. I think I seen it done in Dallas. I've seen it done in other metropolitan areas. I haven't seen nothing in Chicago though. Okay. So I saw that and I'm like, I want to do that. We got to do that, and I want to do it this year, but I just couldn't plan it. But my thing is, I don't know when we plan it, but it might be good to do it for Father's Day. That might be decent. Now that I'm sitting and thinking about it. Yeah.
Go ahead, I cut you off.
Yeah.
No, you added input that I found valuable. And so for me, just being able to walk around the hood and for them to be able to see something different, I knew that even the people that didn't sign my petition, people that weren't interested, I put an image in their head that is going to be hard to forget.
Yeah.
And so being able to plant that seed, I found very valuable. Being able to strike joy and see a smile on people's faces and say, hey, you're the first young person I've seen like this that's doing this. And like I said, just to be able to be seen as that role model for the other brothers, that was out there standing and say, hey, he got, maybe I can wear a suit or something. Right. Even if they never do, just open up their mind and think, a little different. And I'll say that's the biggest victory to me.
I guarantee you, if they see 10, 15, 20 more people with suits on, they're going to try to imitate it. It's just what we do.
Yeah.
It's what we do, especially when we're young. And then if they find that you're in the same stream, they're going to be like, man, if he could do it, I could do this. This must be something. It won't be something every day, but they'll do it.
I want to know, so how was the process like when people turned you down? What was that like to you?
For me, it was a little confusing because most people, they want to see change. Most of their change and their frustration comes from the young people that they feel like, need to be off of the corners and need to be doing something productive. So I just found it interesting that they weren't at least willing to, sign or, give me a follow on social media and be a change agent to the problem. So that was interesting to me.
You know why they won't do that? And just coming from me, being in that a little bit older, one, they don't know your background like that. Just because they see you, they can't be with you. You need somebody to stand beside you that has a background and say, yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, you got one of the strategies that I'm employing, and whether right or wrong, because I've been doing it for a while now. I'm going with the credible agent in the community area that I'm in. You know what I mean? I live in the island, right? And so I might walk with my neighbor Nate, who leads our civic association, who brings the community together. Okay. Arnold Bearden lives a little bit north of that, but he's been a very strong community leader for a long time. I walked the block with him. I was just with Mary Gardner, Crystal Gardner's mom, who has a very big political background, who's been doing it, for a long time.
She ran.
I don't know.
Yeah, she did.
She did?
Yeah, before. She
Okay, dope. No, I didn't even know that.
Years back.
Oh, okay, super dope. Yeah, so she walked with me through her block. You know what I mean, and that's important. Because, one, they know who all the people is. So she calling numbers as we walking, like, hey, I need you to get, you know what I mean? And that just saves a lot of time, too. But, again, when you come with that person, now you become more credible in the eyes of the people that's meeting you. I do want to ask, though, what's your spiel? Like, when you go to the door? Because I feel like I'm a master at coming up with them 10 seconds, boom, 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 boom. You feel me? Letting people know. So what do you say?
For me, and especially in this age of technology, you only got like 5 to 10 seconds to capture somebody's attention.
Facts.
So I know that my look, captures attention. They're gonna look and stare for at least 5 seconds. And so in that time, I say, "Hi, I'm Corey Dooley, running for Alderman in the 29th Ward. I need your help getting on the ballot. Would you please sign my petition today?"
Okay, yeah.
Keep it short. So it's cold too. People be slightly opening the door because they ain't trying to catch all that wind. Yeah. So I do my best to give them a quick spiel. If they do and they sign it, I talk to them a little bit more. Hand them some literature. Yeah. Say, hey, here's where you can learn about me. Yeah. I'm sure you're gonna leave somewhere. You can actually take that one. Yeah, for sure. Mr. Steve as well. And give that to them, and they ask, hey, what are you running on? Some people. Yeah, that's how. Yeah, right. So, hey, that's funny. Nah, I'm looking at. I tell every single campaign is economics, safety, and education. I say that all the time. I mean, look, that's it. Every single campaign. How do we improve education, safety, and economics for the community? Every single time.
What if we just put one of those down? From one candidate just picks one of them. Yeah. Just one, and say this is going to be the real focus. Man. Because it's a difficult task, but I get it. You want to try to capture as much as you can from what's going on in everyone's mind. But I can tell you this, safety been the one for the longest.
Long time.
Yeah. And you got to have...
It'll always be, though. You know what I mean? Without safety, our community no business wants to come, and because whether it's real or, how you call it, like, or imagine, you know what I mean? Because we are in a consistent news cycle where it seems as though it's a very violent community, when in actuality, it's not really that violent.
No, it's not everything.
I like to say this: forget what the community is, what the residents are. Let's bring the structures and the businesses here that makes it look like that. Because the minute you put a Whole Food, you put a
we got a Starbucks coming.
You put people's perception change.
Yeah, we got a Starbucks coming on North Avenue.
And start acting a little different. It's just something about certain entities that come into a community. People start looking like, wait a minute, is this for me?
Yeah.
Or is this for somebody
else? Oh no, you already know.
Then they start getting some get right in. I'm like, I better start looking around. Yeah. It's a different thing.
I want to go to your thoughts on the political process in general, because as I'm walking, and I'm essentially have a message about being community-led oversight for the Chicago Police Department, and that's met in various ways, because we got some population that don't want nothing to do with the police, and you got some that love working with the police, and so I had to try to figure out who's who in that quick moment and start to change my spiel around a little bit to accommodate their feelings about it. But one of the things that I've consistently ran across is my own peoples, my black people don't want to be involved in this process, so much so that they don't give you a signature and have no reason not to give you one. And I'm like, people, like, this is the reason why we in the position that we in now. We don't want to be involved in this process. I understand, though, for a community that is disfranchised, that has consistently been lied to, it makes it that much more difficult for you to want to be a part of that process. But at the same time, it's like, well, what are you going to do? What are we going to do as a group together that shows people that we together? Like, at some point, we got to figure this out, right? We don't like to shop with one another, right? Like, we don't want to build relationships with one another. You know what I mean? We don't want to be involved in electing people that look like us, that come from us, you know what I mean, in some respects, because we do got a black mayor, and part of that is our doing. The larger part of that is the people that actually vote, which is the people up north that actually get stuff, because they're a part of the process more. And so it's just like, what's your thoughts in general on how we treat the process, this political process that we so desperately need to improve our community?
Yeah, and that's a good question too, because for me, a long time I was like, I don't want to get into politics. I didn't know anything about civic engagement, or at least I thought I didn't, until I realized I'm already politicking.
Everything's
We're
politics.
politicking
Everything's
right
politics.
now.
Yeah, for sure.
I have a view, you have a view, and we are having a conversation, either trying to convince one another one viewpoint is right, or we're coming to a common ground. For the betterment of either ourselves or the greater good. So I realized, man, I'm already politicking.
Interest.
Interest.
All politics.
Yeah.
About interest. That's it. That's all. And you're right. It is. I always used to tell DeAndre, I say, politics is no more than who you like, how you like me, and how you like me now.
Ooh.
That's what people. That's it. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
How do you like this person? How do you and what's behind your? Why do you like them?
Yeah,
that's what people do.
Yeah, see, and that's you know what, and that's what sucks, because that's not politics though. That's not what it's supposed to be about. That's we got to get to a space, man, where, because to me, when you start talking like that, you get where we at now. We celebritize politicians.
we do.
We like, bro, these people ain't no damn celebrities. Like we be so happy when our elected come to an event of ours, right? Because one, we want to be seen as being people that's connected and shit like that. Like, and that's cool. We supposed to be, but make them people work, man. Like we be the only ones that don't put pressure like we need to, and what that pressure look like is droves of us getting down on these people. Even so much so far as going is calling our own what I'm trying to say, like bringing the media attention. Yeah. Hey man, we don't like this guy ain't doing what he's supposed to do. He's been in there for what I mean? Like, we don't want to do that type of stuff, but we soon as they come to an event of ours, everything go out the window. Yeah. Everything go out the window. You know what I mean? And that's the problem, because like Steve say, like we like them, right? And that's cool. Do their job. Man, I just feel like politics is the one place, especially to me again in the Black community, and I can only speak for where I live at, because for far too long we've dealt with what we've dealt with, and we have leaders in these positions that's supposed to improve our conditions, but they haven't, and so I feel that they, and just the process in general in some respects, are the only place where you can find mediocrity for 20 years is in politics. It don't matter what you're doing up in there, you can stay in there. So long as you start and people be like, yeah, I like him. I like that.
Keep getting them votes.
Yeah, well, and then most of the time it's like, well, he did something for me, so I'm cool. But then you look at the greater whole, the community in general, and you like, damn, you just because you straight, you know what I mean? You feel like they are doing what they're supposed to do, and they're worth continuing to be in that. No, hell no. Do the job, man.
I think it's deeper than that. I think it's people have really become numb to the fact of politics, the whole issue of politics, that they just throw their hands up and like, they ain't never gonna change anyway. Nobody's gonna do anything, and they get lost in that whole pot. But we have to stir up the masses. We have to get people involved. We have to if every person you knew just reached out to another person, that would double the amount of people. Hopefully the people you know are engaged. And if they could just get one more person engaged, that would just double the numbers.
Yeah.
And reaching out.
Right, but they would have to be a person engaged that you know.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate because a lot of people aren't engaged. Many of the reasons that you mentioned, because of historically how the process has been, betted against us, or we've been told, oh, your vote doesn't matter, it's not important. And then I started to think like, well, if my vote doesn't matter and it's not important, why are they going so hard to get me to not vote? The people spend millions of dollars to make sure that you don't vote, or that this voting station is shut down, or they make it difficult So not only the historical, but also when you look at, when I gotta pay my bills, when my son has just been shot, when I got all this trauma, the last thing on my mind is a vote. I'm just trying to survive.
Yeah, that's a
And
fact.
so, once you are able to get through those things, and have a clear head, and then you have room to think about life outside of just surviving, now you can thrive.
Yeah.
And once you go from the survival stage to the thriving stage, I think it's at that point that you can start to be aware of the community around you, and start to, want
Right.
to get involved and make those type of decisions. So,
Well, I equate it all to the foot on the throat syndrome.
mm,
When everybody got a foot on their throat equally, everybody comes together. When people are out there with their own issues and problems, it separates people. Because I go back to civil rights era. Civil rights era, everybody knew what the situation and the enemy was. So why are you not going to try to ease this foot up on your throat? Oh, you got other problems? You ain't got a job? Well, really? We ain't all got no job. We ain't letting black people come nowhere.
Yeah.
Then you see that sign that says Negroes not wanted. So it's a different thing when everybody is all in the same ship or on the same boat together, because now, like you said, everyone feels that they have their own separate issues, but they're really not.
They're really
separate.
the same.
They're the same issues.
It's really the same.
And it's hard because of something you said earlier, social media. That was the other part you said. You were like, why don't you just follow me? You ain't gonna get older people to follow you like that. It just don't happen. When you say follow, first of all, when you say follow, they say, man, you ain't got time to be walking behind you. Because that's the first thing they think. They don't even know what that typically means. You have to readapt yourself to the political electorate. The people, the voters, not the electors, the voters. Because the voters out here are typically people over 45. And that's where your masses are. Now, if you want to generate that base, 55 is it? If you want to generate that base and create a base, it's going to take some time. But you got to have the stamina, you got to have the momentum to push it. And that's what it really takes. Other than that, what I always tell you, DeAndre, when he was running, he's like, man, why these old people got to have all these signs and stuff? That's old school. Ain't nobody doing that. But that's what they were looking for. That's what they want to see. They want to see your name on that sign. Because that, in their mind, this person's valid. Their signs are out here. I met him. That's his name. That's the guy, and they attach those things.
Yeah. Social
media and all that. I don't really know a lot of people that do it. And I don't even know, well, you guys may know younger people that look and say, man, who's running? I had 2 people call me the other day. Steve, what's the slate? What's the slate? I need to know the slate. You know what the slate is, right? The slate is, back in the day, and they still do it, they used to have what they call slating events where politicians that were up in the party, they would get out there and they would say, well, this is who we're going to put together. We're going to have this one for governor, this one for congressman, this one for whatever this, the political season was. They would put them all on one. So now when people know to vote, these are the ones you vote for because I've been given a slate. But slates still exist. But you didn't even know what slate was, did you?
No, I didn't. I just used my context clues to kind of put that together. But what you're saying about, bridging that intergenerational gap, especially, there's always been a gap, right?
Right.
But with technology, I feel like it's accelerated that. But, and my mom gets more likes on Facebook than me. And so, I know that there's an audience there, but it's like, how do you energize that base? How do you use technology? I speak at the schools. I was just at Michelle Clark, the civics classes, just talking about civic engagement. How do we get civically engaged? And was telling them, you got to be in front of the people, right? You have to be willing to learn. And so for me, just to be able to give back and tell them, and as I was talking to them, my point is that as I was talking to them, they were scrolling on their phones. And I'm saying, hey, like y'all are scrolling on your phones right now, being distracted, like you could be running $1 million business off your phone.
Right.
Drop shipping, have all your, you got free marketing, you run everything through a third party. And so, using technology not to be distracted, but using it as a way to generate revenue and using it as a way to create your own content, rather than just consuming other people's content.
Right.
So, everything can be used for good or evil. You just got to look at how are you using it.
Yeah. I want to go back to earlier, the conversation about survival. And I want to get your thoughts on how do we get to that space? Obviously, being 24 years old, your life experiences don't equate to mine, 35. Steve, what are you, about 57?
Almost. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then we even have, I see Barry tapped in. Barry's 80,
Okay.
right? A whole wealth of different life experiences, right? So when we talk about, this survival part, about that, like all of us that's listening know about it, but none of us have really come up with the answer, or we'd all be thriving at this point, right?
Yeah.
So how do we get there?
Well, I tell the students first that I speak to, and I have a book that's coming out. I'm just looking for funding, working with this foundation to see if I can get some funding for these books. If y'all know anybody, listeners, if y'all know anybody, please reach out to me. But I say it all starts with trauma. And I say that because when you experience something very traumatic, and typically most of us do in the African American community, it shuts you off. It affects your ability to trust. It affects the ability to communicate, and it affects the ability to network. And if I'm so traumatized, especially for me, being traumatized by a black man that shot me, I saw him as my father. He was he was an elder. He was a father figure to me. For me to be traumatized by that man, almost have my life taken, that creates a, whenever you go through trauma, your brain is actually affected by the traumatic things that you went through, and it will damage your response mechanisms to certain things. So if I didn't have my therapy, if I didn't have my quiet time to think about what happened to me and process those things and talk with my brother and my mom and my family, I wouldn't be able to sit here in a room with two other black men, because subconsciously I would feel like, you want to take my life? Because that's what I've been through, and my brain and my body biologically is telling me that I'm in danger. So you literally have to take time to work on those things, and that's just at a personal level. We're not even talking about the 400 years of of slavery and whatever that we went through in this country.
Psychological, genetic
trauma that we ain't
call it
addressed.
epigenetics.
And so that's so much, and that's going to take time to unpack. But I know that in this generation, and especially with the access to information, that the change is happening, and it's happening at a faster rate just because of our access to information. So, man, sitting in here in a room, with black men from different generations, having this conversation, I think that's how we can start.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely the start. And coming from an older generation, not the oldest, but a little older, what most older people want from younger people, they want them to take over the reins. They want them to be capable. They want to see them do good and the best for themselves and everyone. But the thing is, most older people are concerned about the training wheels. First of all, if you ain't trying to ride the bike with the training wheels and you think you can ride, I got this. They don't feel comfortable with that. They need to see it. They need to see it and feel it. If they give you the training wheels and they push you off and you got it, then they know. But most often, what I found is there's always that But you say you want to do it. You say you want to help them. You want to do. They want to see something for you first. That's the attitude in most cases.
I want to shift over to
let's ask some questions.
Yeah, I want to shift over to the Zoom. You guys got any questions for Corey?
How about you, Barry?
I know Mr. Barry got something.
I think Mary. Hold on, real.
Hey guys.
What's up, Barry?
How are you?
Sounds like a great conversation, but I'm just not on. So, what's the subject?
Well, the subject is actually we have a candidate, not a candidate, but a potential candidate for the 29th Ward, Corey Dooley here, 24 years old, and he was talking about his experience and what it's like to go out there and petition for his candidacy. And we were just stating, what is it like to have younger people take over the reins, and what is it like from the perspective of older generation to have them take over the reins?
Well, I can just give you my perspective on it, which is that whatever happens with this race, Corey, I hope that you continue to pursue your leadership. There are huge opportunities for you. So whether it's as an older person or in something else, this is just a step.
Okay.
Thanks, Barry.
Thank you, Mr. Barry.
Mary, I saw you coming off mute. Did you want to say something?
Yes, I did. Thank you so much. Hello, everybody. I just wanted to ask the question of the young man in terms of what is he doing for the upcoming election, or what has he done for the November election?
When you say what have I done, do you mean like my resume, or what? Why am I qualified to be running for?
No, like
No,
you
did
get
we-
out the
No,
vote,
you're-
and you
Right.
Your
energize the
community,
base.
in the community, what, I mean, they're community-wise.
Yeah, so going to different block club events, energizing my base, as you said, looking for volunteers in this political process. I found out that you have to file certain paperwork, so getting my paperwork right. Meeting with community leaders, community organizations that have a big influence on the area, that do a lot. Meeting with block club leaders, working with the police departments, working with the business owners and residents. That's really been my strategy, and also canvassing door to door, gathering literature, putting a team of volunteers together, looking at hosting events, and really doing my best. I tell people the reason that I've been able to get this far is by listening. And I feel like, as an older person, at least someone that you should want someone that's first off in the community, which they call me Community Corey. And secondly, you want someone that's going to listen and be that voice for the people. A politician's job is to make decisions on behalf of the people. The way that you can make those best decisions is by listening. And so that's a little bit, and I hope that answers your question.
So what she was saying was,
Right.
November 8th
Mm-hmm.
is the midterm
Midterms.
elections.
Okay.
So she's asking, with that thought in mind, like, what are you doing to help the community in the regard of the November 8th elections?
In regard to the November 8th elections.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm sorry, I misunderstood
Wait,
that.
before you answer that, let me just add also, thank you, Dan, for that. One of the issues with our millennials is that they're absent when it's time to be present. And this midterm election is very, very, very important. And y'all need to show up right now, because if we don't show up right now, meaning November 8th, who knows what February is going to look like. And that's been an issue in our community, in the Black community, is that we kind of just don't want to look, be responsible, because we might have some issues or some angst, some folks, but we need to, we're doing all we can to turn out the vote this November. So that, I would think that would be your first priority, because that shows, to me, that would show that you're able to focus on the right now, because that'll help prepare for the afterwards, if you will. So are you trying to get young folks? Are you taking? We're doing souls to the polls, because we're focused on early voting, which starts October 24th and it goes all the way to November 7th. Well, we're trying to get people to just vote early, show up and vote early. There's 65 judges that has to be trained on that ballot, and there's also an amendment on that ballot that's very important. So I'll leave it at that. But thank you, guys.
The Workers' Rights Amendment is going to be on that ballot.
Right.
So like one of the things that if you haven't thought of things to do, and I'll let you answer what if you already had plans. ACT, familiar with Austin Coming Together, obviously.
Yes.
They do have a civic engagement group that is continually trying to figure out how to enhance civic engagement in our community. I'm a part of that group. Can't show up to everything all the time, but I have figured out how to at least leverage my time in a way where I'm available for some of those things. And some of those things just look like, for example, in the 29th ward, actually, I help with the participatory budgeting process.
Okay.
You know about that participatory? Okay, good. So participatory budgeting, right? So that is a way where you can start getting people a little bit like outside of just voting, get them familiar with trying to take care of their community first and foremost. Because sometimes the civic process starts even with just trying to get people to do the simple things that we need to enhance the community, such as just cleaning up. You know, trying to get a group of people together to clean up. That's civic engagement first and foremost. It ain't always just the voting piece, right? So in that respect, like there's just small things you could do, and if there's nothing you have already planned, then get with ACT, try to be a part of that too, so you can start to build that momentum and help out with that process. But what, if anything, did you have planned to do in the regard of November 8th?
For me, it sounds like, Miss Mary, that you have an event going on, Souls to the Polls. I would be willing to help in any way that I can, get younger people engaged. Like I said, I have been at Michelle Clark speaking to the civic students. I would love to tell them about Souls to the Polls. I would love to maybe even have you come in via Zoom and educate them on what's going on, because I don't know everything. That's why I do my best to connect with people in the community so that they can tell me what's going on and we can help each other. And that is a critical piece. And I will be, you can reach me at 773-234-4569, or you can email me, and my email is info@communitycorey.com. Would love to get together with you maybe sometime next week and look at how do we get some energy and some buzz around this early voting.
Can you put your contact info in the chat?
Nah, I'm about to do that.
You know what? I'll try to drop the flyer in the chat too. I'll give it a shot.
Yeah, please do.
Souls to the Polls flyer.
Hey, you got a question from the YouTube. What is your future plans for Austin? What's going on, Congressman Davis?
I'm doing good.
Yes, sir.
Glad to see you here, Congressman.
It's a pleasure.
This is Corey Dooley right here, presumptive
Yes.
candidate for the 29th ward.
Yes, indeed.
Yes, sir.
I see you dressed up and
I'm
everything.
trying to get like you. That's it.
Yes, sir.
Sunday suit,
Yes, sir.
blue on blue. Blue. Can't do much better than that.
Yeah. So, what's your plans for the Austin community? They're coming in from our YouTube. If you can see the question on the screen too.
Yeah, I do see that. And I do have plans for Austin. But I really would like to. I'm still formulating these plans, because while I do have plans, I'm one person, and there are 60,000 people roughly in the 29th ward. So my plan is not complete by any means. I am running on economic development, public safety, and education, but I'm really confident that the economic development piece is really a one-stop shop for public safety and its education. Our young people, like I said, with technology, everyone's either looking for a job, or at least for me in school, I was taught, go get a job, go work for somebody. And while that's cool, that shouldn't be the end all be all. My thing is infiltrate, educate, and vacate. So once you learn what you need to learn, go and start your own business. That way you work for yourself, and technology, just the opportunity to be an entrepreneur is possible like never before. Secondly, the key to wealth, right, is through ownership. A lot of us African Americans, specifically in our community, we don't own anything. Or when we get grandmama's house, we sell it because we see a quick and short-term cash. We don't think about the generational oh, I can give this to my son, he can give this to his son. As the area develops and the property values rise, I now have that equity built up in my home. Now that the equity is built up in my home, I can now go and buy a building. And so it's my hope to inspire the young people to create their own jobs and businesses, especially since it's so easy now. My parents, grandparents couldn't do that. Secondly, ownership. Look at how do we get people in the community, specifically young people, to get some of these property that the city of Chicago owns. Is it taking them through a program, a trades program, and they show by their grades and by the work that they've put in, by the time they get out of high school, now they are eligible to own one of these properties, right? And so now you look at people not being as displaced, especially when you look at the development going on Chicago Avenue. We talk about in Soul City. These aren't your downtown developers coming in, buying up everything. That the area is flourishing, but then the rates get so high you can't afford to live there anymore. They sell out their properties and they're rich. We're talking about a community wealth building model where 70% of the properties in the Soul City corridor are owned by African Americans. So they can take the equity built up in this, they can pass it down to their sons and daughters, and create this cycle of generational wealth. So I know that was a long.
No, that's right on time.
But I hope that answered your question.
We were doing a piece called "Making Money for Millennials and Others," but we actually did the reverse. We wanted to get people into rental properties where they can create income right away, rather than having to have a mortgage on a home, or if they're waiting on something to be granted to them, or grandfather and grandmother give away, what do you call it, will to them. They would already have a vehicle. If you can go in, if you get a 2-flat or a 3-flat, you can go in with a friend that's got a job. I'm sure both of you guys would have enough income to get that, rent the other floor out, make income from that, rent the basement out, make income from that. But there are ways to do it. You're absolutely right. Entrepreneurial spirit has to be part of what we do.
But the city council, there's 50 aldermen, and the mayor. And in order for anything to actually get agreed to in the city council, you got to get 26 votes. Otherwise, it's conversation actually stop there. Everybody got some thoughts and ideas. How do you intend or expect to convince the other 25 members of the council and the mayor, right? Whatever you're talking about is what ought to be done. Because that's what boils down to, in order to get them to appropriate some money for something you want done, you got to convince them. In order for them to agree to some taxing strategy, you got to convince them. So you got to be able to convince 25 of your colleagues and the mayor that whatever you're talking about makes sense and is what they ought to be doing. So how do you propose to make that happen?
Well, I know there's a lot of things that we don't agree on, but a lot of things that there's one thing that we do agree on, and it's that young people right now, at least there's a consensus that we are not on track. We're not doing the right thing, right? The carjackings, right? They're getting out of hand. The shootings downtown, right? They're getting out of hand. And this has always been happening, but it's getting worse in the city. And if we don't do something now with our young people, who are we, Congressman, everything that you've built, who can you leave that to? What young person is going to come in and say, the congressman did this and that, and I need to make sure that this continues to go forward. We're concerned about, we're off drugs, a lot of drugs, so we're not thinking in a clear mental space. We can agree that the youth need a role model, that they need programs to be able to be put in positions of leadership. They need to be educated so that they can continue to make sure that Chicago is the #1 city in the world. And if the city isn't safe, that's no tourists are going to come. That's going to cut down on the money that the city of Chicago is able to make. It's not, a good media. At least for me, coming from Dallas, I was so scared to come to Chicago because of the violence that at least we see in the media, right? The so-called violence. And that's not a good image. A lot of people are moving from Chicago, moving to Texas. People ask me, "Oh, why'd you go from Texas to Chicago?" Most people are going from Chicago to Dallas, and so you know, if now more than anything we don't see the urgency to invest in our young people, we won't have a city of Chicago. We won't.
Well, let me just thank you. You went with us the other day. We went to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, because you understood the value of doing that. And I appreciate that, because no longer am I looking for powwow in terms of electoral politics, people in office. I'm really looking more for power. There's a big difference between powwow and power. And so the fact that you showed up in Wisconsin knocking on doors to try to help a guy get elected to the Senate, that spoke volumes to me in terms of your understanding of the process and what it means. Because if you don't have a majority, wherever you're talking about being, you ain't in charge. And you ain't in charge unless you got over half the people agreeing with you. And that's why I was pleased to see you on that trip, and pleased to have the opportunity to talk to you, because we rode in the same car all the way there and all the way back.
That's what's up.
And also, it's good to see that you have the courage of your conviction. That is, a lot of people talk about what needs to happen, what should happen, but they're not willing to put themselves on the line to try and make it happen. And so I just say, good luck. I haven't determined yet. I live in the 29th ward. Have lived in the 29th ward, I guess, now.
I was on your block yesterday. I was on your block Saturday with Mary Gardner.
Yeah. About a year or so. And obviously I'm interested in the local representation. And so I'm delighted to be here, to see you here tonight. I've been running around all day. I just left a town hall that I had. Before that, I was at Christ Tabernacle Church. They were celebrating their 50th year. Before that, I was at the Pleasant Ridge Church, where Bishop Joseph Jones is semi-retired. Yeah,
this man running around like a 35-year-old. Man, no, 25. Get that, man. This guy's busy.
Well,
busy.
I appreciate that, Congressman. I appreciate you extending an opportunity for a young person to learn. Many people are, I would say, maybe afraid of young people or don't want to be bothered. So thank you for opening the door to allow a young person like myself to gain experience, for the wisdom that you gave me. The 20 questions you allowed me to ask you. As soon as you just answered one, I would ask another one. And at least in my generation, we don't have the MLK. We don't have the Malcolm X. We have Obama, but he's a little bit harder to touch out and reach. So I look at you gentlemen. I look at you Congressman as you're my MLK. Steve, you're my Malcolm X. DeAndre, you're my
Tupac. No,
Tupac. Right. No, but that's serious, and I mean that with the endearment to my heart, because I see Chief Keef as my role model, and I'm not saying that's bad. But for me to only see him, or for me to I can only be Chief Keef, or I can only be LeBron, like that's a very thin line. Yeah. And so to be able to surround myself by other Black men that are successful, I really do appreciate that, because that's not something that I see when I go to Facebook, when I go to Instagram, when I go to Twitter. That's not something I see. So thank you, gentlemen, for setting that example.
Yeah. So we got a question on the screen, right? And I think you answered this, but I also want to piggyback off this question right here and ask, have you tried, and I say this, and I only say this because I know how our electeds think in a way,
Mm-hmm.
and some of them are willing to work with you, but you got to ask.
Mm-hmm.
So I know you know the question is on the screen of what made you decide to run for alderman, but I also want to pair it with, and have you tried to work with the representation that's in place now?
Yes, and so as you all know, most of my work comes from Chicago Avenue and the Soul City Business Corridor, and that runs from Austin to Cicero, which is split between two wards.
Mm-hmm.
That's split between the 29th Ward, Chris Taliaferro, and the 37th Ward, Alderman Emma Mitz.
Mm-hmm.
So I've worked with both of the alder persons in those wards previously. I did reach out to the current alderman in the 29th Ward, Chris Taliaferro.
Mm-hmm.
I reached out in many different ways at different times. I didn't receive a response, which I didn't take that personal at all. I understand he's a busy man. I was able to sit down with other elected officials, but at this point, so far, I have not been able to sit down with him. I have a great respect for him, and actually, when he ran for judge for the 11th Sub Circuit Court, I was sure that he was going to get it. And when he ran, I said, hey, we need someone that knows what's going on in Austin. We need someone that knows the residents, knows the businesses, has worked with the police department here, and is familiar with the development going on. So that way, when the next audit person comes in, we don't skip a beat. And so when he didn't get it, I was actually very surprised, but I had already made my announcement to run.
Okay.
At that point. And
Yeah.
so, I do have to run against him. That wasn't my, original intention. But
no, it's part. It's all right. It's part of it. It's part of the process. It's just a lot of the times you get people who have never at least attempted to work with the representation, and they'll have all these negative things to say about them. Especially as it relates to the race, so to speak. They say so many bad things about the elected. They never say any good things about themselves. You'd be like, man, who would you running on? Who would you? You know what I mean? And so I just wanted to ask that question. But so in your response, are you saying that part of the decision to run for you was because of the work you are already currently doing with helping to build Soul City Corridor out? I know you have a background in political science, obviously, and you wanted to be able to be that bridge, so to speak, between our current and what we could have in the future. Is that what kind of led you there?
Yes, my work experience, also knowing that the alderman was leaving, we needed someone there. So my work experience, knowing that we needed to fill that gap, and also, like I said, to serve as a role model, because for me growing up, I only wanted to go to the NFL. That was my only thing. Yes, sir.
Really?
You can look at it, I might think I'm a basketball player.
You look kind of.
But in Texas, they don't give you a choice. Just like in Chicago, you play basketball.
Yeah.
Right? No matter if you 4 feet 5, you gonna know how to dribble a ball. So in Texas, you gonna know how to catch a football. And that's all I wanted to do. I never thought about being an alderman. I never thought about being an elected official. So I had to become that so that the other young men can see, hey, I might want to be an alderman one day. At least even if you don't choose it, I want to give you the option to at least see it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just have the option. So that's what inspired me as well.
The Bears need some football players.
It will be a good time.
So to the question, he is from Dallas. He moved here on a scholarship to Concordia to complete his bachelor. So since moving here, he's stayed here in Chicago. He talked about that a bit earlier. So I want to and say, come closer to the mic. Or you could just,
Pull it out.
pull it up. Yeah. Get it to where it fits you.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah.
Sorry about that. I should have said that earlier.
This is okay.
Okay. So now I'm just going to look at, we got some comments up here. Say, I think we should stop looking for heroes and get and do what needs to be done. What's your response to that?
I think we should. That last question went off.
Yeah, I know. I was going through them.
Oh, okay. I think we should stop looking for heroes and get to do what needs to be done. In a sense, I think we need heroes. We need authentic heroes because when I look, just like Black Panther, I look at Black Panther and I see, oh wow, I can build a Wakanda. Before Black Panther, that I didn't really have a superhero that I could look to. Heroes serve as role models. They inspire change, and they have a platform. I don't know what it is, but when you give people this platform to inspire, and it does inspire people, it brings about a change. And so for me, I feel like the young shorties, we need heroes right now because at least in the governmental and political space, we got heroes in the rap space. We got heroes in the sports space. Now we need a hero in the political space to show, wow, I can save myself. I want to be like Corey Dooley.
Right.
I want to be the youngest alderman in city council. We need those young people to look to. But however, that hero has to be grassroots. They have to be like Mr. Danny K. Davis here. They have to be in front of the people. They have to know what the people want, and they have to have a heart to do it.
Right.
I find that interesting because I got so many heroes that I could spend all night talking about people I consider my heroes. I'm talking about in a genuine kind of way. They didn't. One was the guy who let me live in his house for 2 years when I was going to college. If I didn't have an uncle and an aunt that lived in that town, I wouldn't have had nowhere to stay. So Uncle Bob is a hero. I'd be going home to visit my parents. And when I get to Little Rock, because they lived in Pine Bluff, looked like my car couldn't move fast enough for me to get to their house. I had so much appreciation for them for letting me live in their house with them the first 2 years I went to college. I think of the people at Sunday school, Uncle Dude, the guy who was the leader of our Sunday school and taught us all that stuff. I was talking to his daughter the other day, my cousin Cora, because her son had just died. And we almost couldn't get off the phone in terms of remembering growing up and what we did and the value and the role of folks at church who would take up a little collection for some of us if we was going to school. None of them had never even finished high school, not less going to college. But all of those are my heroes and sheroes. My mama, I be talking about my mama and choke up. Can't say nothing else. Can't just remember her sticking her hand in my pocket or something when I get ready to catch the bus. And I said, don't put your hand in my pocket. I may have some stuff in there. Whatever, don't. I get there and pull out a little piece of paper, $10 bill. Oh, that's what this is. Well, I got so many heroes.
Yeah.
Until it just ain't funny. I'm talking about I could write about them all day long.
Right.
I agree. I agree. I agree with that sentiment. And I like, for instance, there's been a lot of very strong women in my life that I could consider heroes. So I think it is important. First and foremost, our community is in the straits it is in is because all of this starts from home. So number one, if you cannot find heroes in your home, then we have a problem. So I like that you brought that up, Congressman Davis, because heroes supposed to be at home. And I think going back to your point you were making about trying to show people that they can be different, they don't have to be an entertainer or a sports player in order to make it, is part of the reason too. I feel like we're trapped in this cycle we're in because society has continued to show us that is the way to get out, so to speak. That's almost like the only way. We don't really, as I mentioned, we celebritize our political figures, but we need to be celebritizing the regular people. And when we talking regular, we talking about a person who built a multi-million-dollar business from his home or something, right? That looked like us, somebody who took in other people because that is what was needed at that time, right? Like those people are heroes. They need to be celebritized and they need to be shown on a higher level because those are the people that all of us are. You know what I mean? And everybody can be that person because everybody is not going to play sports. Everybody's not going to be an entertainer and earn millions and billions at this point of dollars, you know. And so the point you made is absolutely correct. That was one of the things that I enjoyed about my run at 31 was that the people I graduated with who had never been a part of the process, now they started to get interested. You know, they started asking me political questions and stuff like that, and that matters. And that makes me happy knowing that I was a part of that catalyst for them to start to recognize, yeah, we should probably be a part of that. So I know there's going to be some young people that are going to see what you're doing and get behind it, as well as continue behind it even after this process is over. So that is very important what you're saying. That's for sure.
Let's define a hero. What's a hero? I always say in my life, I've met a lot of great people. And when I say great people, I guess I would consider them heroes. That would be a person that has inspired me, that has guided me, and even somewhat delivered me to where I needed to be or doing the things that I needed to do to help others. And in my mind, those people were heroes. So it's a definition that could be used by anyone at any stage. But DeAndre is right. We do need to look at our homegrown heroes first. Our hood. What's my man's name? The hood cat.
Oh,
my man.
Anthony. Yeah. The hood candidate. He ran for president. Yeah. The hood candidate. Yeah.
So everybody got to, you have to have heroes.
You do, and forgive us, young people, because we are dealing with a lot, especially just generationally. When you look at the breakdown of the African American community and the state that the family unit is in, with not having the positive father figure there. For me, growing up, I had many different father figures, but in the home, the first father, he left when I was young. The second father raised me from when I was 9 to 15. That's 6 years, a critical part of your life, where you're developing. What do I want to be in life? How do I be a man? That same man that was my father turned a gun on me and tried to kill me. And even after that, I met my real father. I didn't meet my real father until I was 15. There had been so much time that had went on that, man, we still catching up now. And so a lot of us have seen just some crazy stuff. And a lot of us don't have, the mental health centers that we can go to. We don't have brothers and sisters we can talk to. Or we don't have the mental capacity to ask for help. So forgive us and be patient with us. And give us a little bit more time to heal from the stuff that we've seen. And even that you gentlemen have been through as well. So, but it's just going to take these conversations, and I appreciate y'all for being here today to have this conversation.
Yeah. The mind isn't even fully developed until 25. So a lot of the stuff that these kids are doing, like in some respects, we can't necessarily blame them. And I believe in self everything, whether that's accountability, responsibility, XYZ. But you can't fully blame a person who believes that this is the right thing to do when their brain isn't fully developed. So that's unfortunate.
Let's take some questions. Anybody out there have any questions? And you have any questions?
I think we look for solutions. In terms of, problems. Yeah, we've identified a lot of problems, and we know what the problems are. Trying to figure out the solutions. I always say that problems are kind of like babies. The more you nurse them, the more they grow. And so we massage problems all day long, just about every day. finding solutions in terms of what can we do to change some of the problem production. What can we do? For example, we talk about single parent homes.
Mm-hmm.
What can we do to change it? How do we change the number of single parent homes?
And when you're saying these things, you're not talking about those that have already been through some term of life. You're talking about those that are coming into life.
Yeah,
into
and for example, I think that 30% of the children in my congressional district, it may be a little different or something now, live with someone other than their natural parent. How do we change that? Well, we need to change that.
Right.
We need to figure out some way, and we got all of these homeless children. We need to change that. How do we change it? Figure out a way for people to adopt them, or figure out a way. It's hard to get people to adopt a teenager.
Yeah.
Homeless teenager. Trying to get somebody to adopt a homeless teenager is like pulling teeth. It's hard. I mean, even people who become foster parents for younger age children, but teenage, oh man, that's tough. And yet, of course, we keep producing them every year. And so we do have a lot of serious challenges and trying to figure out not so much just solving them, but just how to make them better.
Right.
Just how to reduce them.
We're gonna switch them up again.
What are the messages that we convey to individuals in terms of working with homelessness? I see the city is coming up with some homeless little homes they're gonna build. That's gonna get some people off the street and into at least a room, I guess, some big as about this size, I guess. Maybe not this size. I don't think they'll be this big.
You can come over here, Congress.
But that's gonna help. So I look for creativity in terms of individuals who provide leadership. Creativity is a big part of it in terms of coming up with thoughts and ideas, things that nobody else have thought of, and then convince people that this is something that can be done, and then get it done so that other people are doing it. And to me, that's leadership. That's kind of leadership.
Right.
I often define leadership as getting other people to do what you want them to do, but because they want to do it. I'm saying if you don't get that they want to do it in, it becomes coercion. But if it's leadership, it's because they have been convinced that this is something they want to do because you've shown them the value of it, or you've convinced them that this is going to work better. And so I'm looking for motivational people. I'm looking for people who can inspire and motivate others and convince others to do things. And I think the city council position of Alderman it is a legislative, it's also an appropriated, but it's also a leadership. Like being the pastor of a church. A good guy can come in and he can be a great preacher, he can be a good speaker, but he also got to also be able to pastor
Right.
the people, which isn't necessarily just in articulating the spoken word, but also demonstrating empathy and understanding relative to whatever the people are saying their needs are, and managing those in a certain kind of way that they become endeared. So it's a lot of fun also. I make no bones about it. I just said to the group I just left that I consider myself to be very fortunate because I have been able to interact with so many outstanding, wonderful people who are part of the wind beneath my wings, whatever it is that I may have been able to do. And I must admit, I've done a lot. I ain't no point in me kidding about it, but downplaying it. Oh yeah, I've done a lot. So but the people have been the wind beneath my wings. The people in this community, people in other communities, and I say this community because the 29th Ward is where I started doing electoral stuff. And I was part of a discussion Saturday about the Million Man March that the Nation of Islam had. And we were reminiscing and remembering, and I was reminded that we had 3 busloads of people who went with us to that march in Washington. And Reverend Griffin, right down the street, we had a bus from him. And we also engaged a bus from him to go to Milwaukee and all. But right here, right down the street.
Right across the street. Yeah.
That's right. And we always try and make use of things locally, things in the community, things that you can build on and see happen. I was at an event the other day, and black event. They had a photographer who was not an African American. And, you know, those at the table where I was, we were just wondering, you mean they couldn't take these pictures? I'm saying the symbolism even of what sometimes people do. And so you sacrifice a little bit in order to, like, I felt real terrible because the person who used to print all of my stuff that I printed, gobs of stuff I'm talking about. But JP Printing, the shop was right down the street, cross the street on the other side. That was my guy until he died.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Everybody went to
until JP died. That was, and at that time we had budgets that allowed us to send stuff to every household in a district, and 700,000 people in a district, and so you're talking 200 and some thousand
$250,000
households and so forth. And so JP did all of my stuff right across the street.
Parkside Division.
Yeah, we made it our business to do that. So It's good. It's good stuff. Anybody who think that being an elected official, many people say they wouldn't do it because of all the acrimony and what people say about you and all that. But if you've got faith in yourself and if you believe in what you do, you don't care what nobody say about you. What you care about is what's real about what they say.
If it's real.
If they're telling the truth, then the truth is the light, and the light is salvation. If they lying and just being acrimonious, and you just shake that stuff off and put it under your feet. And go on.
Like we said earlier, there ain't no crying in politics. You got to have skin thick as alligator. You know, it is what it is.
Yeah, you just let that, and they're gonna do it. They can't help it.
Right.
I'm saying they're people who would much rather characterize something in a different way than to say straight up what it is. The church that I just left with, as we were celebrating, and of course talking about some of the challenges it has had, what people said. I don't worry about what people say. I worry about what I do. And you know within deep in your heart whether you're doing the right stuff and the right things. So whatever they say, they already programmed. We used to call that the ABCDs, which really stood for act, bitch, clown, and demonstrate. So there are always people who gonna do that. So if you believe in yourself, know that you're doing God's will and the work of the people and do the best you can, you'll do fine.
Well, Congressman, someone said the issue is when we come to the table with solutions and then we keep talking about solutions.
It's hard to get enough people to agree oftentimes. I'm saying people talk around things, they talk about things, but to concretely say, this is what we need to do, they just have a hard time doing that. And plus they doubt. You know, it's kind of like when Jesus was talking to his disciples and he said to them, you know, says, I'm getting ready to go and so I'm going to go away and prepare a place for you. And then I'm going to come back and get you and receive you unto myself. And where I am, there you may be also. And Thomas, my mother used to always call him Doubting Thomas. She said, oh, Doubting Thomas, say, how do we know the way? We don't know the way. He said, what, how we go? Hey, Jesus said, well, I am the way.
That's
The
right.
truth and the light. No man cometh to the Father except he cometh by me. And if you seek truth and light in your work and in what you do, the other stuff is just something that people do. And it's hard to get people to take a direct direction because they are afraid that if it does not work out, then people are going to say, I didn't know what I was doing. We didn't do the right thing. We didn't do what should have been doing. There are some things that are always right. And one of the things that's always right is to get direction and instruction from the people. That is hard for some leadership types to do. I like the idea of getting consensus and getting agreement I will write something and ask 4 or 5 people to look at it before I say it's done. And I don't mind if you scratch this sentence and say, well, I think you could have had to say it a little different. Maybe that's too long or whatever. And when you're self-assured, then you can do that. And you let other people critique the work that you do. And more than likely, if the people are in agreement with it, you'll be all right. You're always all right. Because what good leaders do is they listen to people and kind of find out what people are thinking or what people want. Then they jump in front of them and say, come on, y'all. But they don't tell them, I got this idea from you. So I expect you to agree. Yeah, you're going to agree because it's yours in the first place. I'm just now in front saying, come on. But I heard you say it. So, I mean, leadership involves a lot of different things, but it involves listening a lot. I'm saying listening.
Right. Well, you said that earlier. That was one of the characteristics that you feel strongly used by yourself, right?
Yeah, and that's something I pride myself on. It says, in the scriptures that the greatest among you will be the least among you. The greatest leader will be the greatest servant. And so I really do my best to embody this servant leadership, especially being so young. And I realize that I don't know everything. I have some experience here and some experience there, but hopefully you can see that I'm willing to listen and that I'm willing to learn. And that I'm willing to hear your voice more than I'm willing to hear my voice. And based off that alone, that you would allow me to be able to lead.
There you go. Well, I mean, somebody said, I think you answered this question earlier. They were asking that you were from Dallas. What area are you from? From Texas?
Dallas, Texas. Yes.
Dallas, but they said, what's your connection here? Did you state that earlier?
Yeah, I did. I don't think that they were on, but just a quick. So I got a letter in the mail from Concordia University, Chicago, to come here to school. I told my mom I wasn't gonna come. She said, "Boy, just take a visit. We're gonna go wherever they're giving you money to go."
Right.
And so I listened to my mama because she has never steered me wrong. I came to Chicago while I was at the university. My university had a partnership with UIC John Marshall. UIC John Marshall, while I was there taking the classes learning about HUD, housing and urban development, and learning about the systematic structures in Chicago that's built HUD and kind of built our housing situation now. I met attorney Lewis Powell, who was Professor Lewis Powell at the time. He told me, if you want to get involved, you can do that 3 ways. You can attach yourself to an organization, you can create an organization, or you can, he said you can start one, you can create one, or get involved in one that's growing. And he said you need to reach out to Malcolm Crawford on the west side of Chicago. And so I reached out to Malcolm and his organization, and I was in such a unique opportunity to be surrounded by business owners from the city. You talk about Charmaine Roquette with Uncle Remus.
Right.
You talk about, Latricia May and Shirley Fields. You talk about Hunter's Realty. And you talk about all the different people that are part of the organization, the different state reps.
You're speaking of AAA-BNA?
Yes, AAA-BNA, the Austin African American Business Network and Association. To be able to, I've never seen a senator before. To be able to see Senator Don Harmon, see State Rep Camille Lilly and LaShawn Ford, see residents. I had never just seen business, residents, government all in the same room. So that really opened my eyes to want to get more connected to Chicago. And Texas, when I was living there, it was harder for a young Black man to get in the political space in Texas, because it was white male dominated, Republican ideology. So to come to Chicago and see so many Black men in leadership, and Chicago has that history. I was like, man, this is a unique opportunity to learn. So got connected there, and I haven't looked back since.
There you go.
Well, Dallas is a great city. They are boom town right now in terms of business and industry, and the guy whose office is around the corner from mine, Representative Burgess, is from Dallas, and he's a Republican. He's also a dear friend of mine, and he and I have introduced several pieces of legislation together. But also Eddie Bernice Johnson is from Dallas, who is retired this year. And Eddie Bernice has been one of the longest serving members of the House of Representatives. I've known her since Jimmy Carter days.
That's a name I don't even know, so I know that.
President Carter.
Well, she was a nurse who got involved in politics and then became a state senator and then ran for Congress. And she's chairman of the Committee on Energy, full committee on the research stuff and all, but she's retired this year and one of the most potent members. They used to have a great state's attorney in Dallas County that we used to do some work with. But no, there's no place like Chicago. Yeah, you ended up in a good school. Concordia is a good school, and Dominican out in that area. Those are two of the universities.
He ended up on the best side.
West.
The west side.
I haven't even touched Harold's. I can barely say the name sometimes because that Uncle Remus is different. I'm gonna stick true to that.
Well, that family, of course, has been around in this community for a long time. Charmaine's daddy, outstanding gentleman. He's almost 100 years old.
He lived across the street from Arnold, right?
He lived right next door there to Arnold. Also, the Tucker family lived right there too. There's a woman named Dorothy Tucker who's been an anchor news lady for the city of Chicago, Channel 2 and other channels. Her daddy lives right there, right? Wow. By Charmaine's family and daddy. So that whole there's a little enclave.
The Lorenz Tate.
Tate brothers. They were just on Chicago Avenue.
But their relatives live the next block over on Congress Parkway.
So they were in town.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that. But now they came off of a block where there's 7 superstars that lived on that one block on Crenshaw Street in the 36th. That's where the fellow who's still there.
Oh,
he was a star. Mickey Johnson.
Mickey, I'm sorry.
Was an NBA basketball player. There was another football player, Darryl Stingley, lived on that same block. He was a star football player, All-American, and also Jack Tatum and paralyzed in the game, and that was the end of his career. But yeah, there are a lot of and the Tate brothers lived on that same block.
That's a historical block.
Oh yeah, it is, and I'm probably missing 2 or 3 people. There are a lot of individuals who have been outstanding, and while they're outstanding individuals, what we really need is more everyday people being outstanding enough so that the mass community is outstanding. So that greatness, the business of greatness Dr. King had the real message of it when he said that everybody can be great because everybody can serve.
Mhm.
And that was pretty much what you were saying a few minutes ago when you talked about the greatest of all being the servant of all.
Yes, sir.
So servant leadership is what's needed, and what I look for in terms of people who run for public office that I vote for. I try to vote for that type.
As we all should.
And everybody, of course, tells everybody that they're going to do whatever people need to have done. And you can't do it all. You do the best that you can. I often reference something Abraham Lincoln said, and somebody said to Abraham Lincoln one time, supposedly, said, you know, Mr. Lincoln, I don't know how you make it. Say, your generals aren't winning the war, they're losing. You got a guy in charge who drinks a lot of whiskey, talking about Ulysses Grant. How do you survive? How do you manage? And supposedly President Lincoln said to him, so look, in all these things, I just do the best that I can. And I make the best decisions that I do make. Says if the end comes out all right, people will swear what a great man I am. But if the end comes out wrong, the legion of angels swear that I was right. Won't make a bit of difference. So I just do the best that I can do.
That's all you can do.
Hope that the end comes out all right. And I think right now, you know, we got an election coming up in a few days. I am encouraging people to please vote. Please vote. And don't have the idea that voting is not going to make a difference. It does make a difference. It always makes a difference. It always has made a difference. Always will make a difference. If you don't protect what you've got, then you may mess around and lose it. And there have been people trying to take it away. Some people think this stuff with President Trump and January 6th, all this is just a bunch of fluff and all. Not so. It's as real as it can possibly be. There are elements in our society who believe that there are groups who've made too much progress and they want to block the progress. There are conservatives who believe that there's too much liberalism. And so they want to cut off the liberal approach to decisions. There are people who believe that Roe versus Wade was not the right decision to have been made. And ever since it was made, they've been working against it, trying to turn it around, and trying to turn it around. The conspiracy that got generated to try and pretend that the election was dishonest and unfair was exactly what it was. Treasonable acts. Treasonable acts. They know about nothing wrong with that election. They know that Biden was elected president and all of that. And they were bold enough to try and pretend. We have spent so much time, energy, and effort on that. Time that if it had not existed, we could have been working on trying to stop killing people, or stop people from killing each other. Or we could have been working on feeding the hungry, clothing the naked, creating more job opportunities for those who are unemployed. But we had to do what we've had to do and everybody have to do everything in their power to help make America whatever it is that they think and whatever we think America ought to be. And that's really the greatness of this country. That you can make use of yourself in any way that you choose to try and help America become the nation that you think it ought to be. I mean, that's why I decided to run for public office. That's why I decided to devote my life to it. And I'm pleased that I've done so. And if I had to do it again, I think I'd do the same thing. I may do it a little differently, but I would do the same thing.
Well, I appreciate you for pouring into a young person like myself. I'll continue to say this. I just been able to get so far by listening. So thank you for dropping those words of wisdom on a young person like myself to enable me to go and make the best decisions on behalf of the community. I know we got like 1 minute left, Mr. Steve. So I don't know if you want to close us out.
We get ready to close out. I just want to make sure we have enough juice. Because we're getting close to losing power.
Okay.
But let me get back on. And first and foremost, any other questions from the people out there? Please do so.
Okay, Steve, I would like to say something. I have a question.
Go ahead, Tiny.
I have a short question.
Sure.
Congressman?
Yes.
I had went to your office and I asked to get an appointment to talk to you about the Chicago Freedom Movement and Al Raby. So I would like to talk to you this week, any day but Thursday. Is that possible?
I think it is because I am in town, and of course I always got a lot of stuff to do, but talking about the freedom movement, I can't think of anything much more important than that. So yeah, I'm sure we can do it this week.
Okay. All right. How about you, Miss? You anything else, Tiny?
Well, I went to Concordia too.
Look at that.
All right.
All right.
We're gonna tie you in to Tiny, man. Tiny is a phenomenal person, man. He went to Dartmouth back when there weren't even any blacks hardly there. He's been on the west side forever, so we're gonna tie you in. Miss J, you got anything in conclusion? Barry, you have anything in conclusion? Well, I'm gonna go ahead and close us out. And as we always say,
Can you hear me?
oh yeah, go ahead real quick.
Oh, no, I'm not going to be long. But no, I'm talking about Amazon in the community. I think the community needs to get together because Amazon is not cooperating with the community as far as people in the community becoming employed. They have a company here in the community, the warehouse, and haven't opened yet. But I had talked to some of the big people from Amazon, and they assured me some things, but now they're trying to backslide. So I think in the future to come, I would like to get the community together to meet with Amazon and see what is the problem that they can come out of the community and build Amazon. And here we don't get no choices or no way of employment for people in the community.
So it's time to organize. Is what you're saying? Is what you're saying? Okay. All right. Anything, Barry? In conclusion, I'm gonna go ahead and close this out. If not, all righty then. I just want to say, like DeAndre always says, they didn't want to invite us to the table, so we had to create our own. And we want to welcome you guys next time to Northwest Austin Council. We appreciate you coming on, Mr. Dooley, Corey Dooley here, running for the 29th Ward automatic seat, and Congressman Davis. Good night, all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Shut it down.
Good night. God bless everybody.
All right.
Absolutely.
All right, you too.
God bless America.
For sure, for sure, for sure.
My country, 'tis thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing.
That was a great show. Thank you, Mr. Steve.
No problem.
Can we get a picture before
Oh,
we
yeah.
get out of here? I'll probably just
Let
take
me
it.
get out of here. Let me just
Visually.
shut it down real quick. Hold on. I don't know why I can't get out.
God
There we
bless
go.
America,
Danny,
land that I
You got this.
love.
sing it.